Mackey grew up in an abusive household where his father used to beat him up just for his amusement. Growing up in such a household twisted Mackey into a psychopath with zero emotions. That is, until he met a kind boy, Tama, who showed him a brand new world through the lens of soft tennis. With the help of his new friend, Mackey overcame his past trauma and became a better man than his deadbeat father. However, before any of this, Mackey moves into a new house with his mother Aya. She has finally gotten a promotion at her job, so with enough money to afford an apartment with an elevator. In the meantime, Shijo Minami Junior High is hosting a practice match between the boys and girls. The girls are the part of the girls' soft tennis club while the boys are the part of the male one. Normally, a match between the two genders is a one-sided victory for the boys, but not here in Shijo High. The girls here are the favorites for the national championship, while the boys haven't even made it to the qualifiers. With such disparity, the girls' soft tennis club destroys the boys' one, as they aren't even able to score a single point. Out of the boys, only Tama is somewhat able to hold his position, but in a team battle, a single person can't do anything to turn the tables. One serve after another, the girls' Captain K destroys not only Tama but also his companions without much effort. The entire match is a complete embarrassment for the boys, which is enough for most of them to give up. Tama is extremely infuriated at the reaction of his teammates and reminds them that they shouldn't give up this easily. Unfortunately, not all of them share the same sentiments, as Shingo only joined the club to rizz up the baddies at the school. However, with how things are going, his aura is already in debt. If things weren't already dire enough, the student council president, Kanuyo, informs everyone that the budget allocated to the student clubs will be getting another revision. The clubs who aren't performing well will either be having their budget cut down or they will be disbanded to prevent any more wastage of money. This news causes panic amongst the boys' club, where everyone is already depressed from the defeat earlier in the morning. On top of that, this news is enough to make most of them leave, since there is no point in being in a club that will be disbanded in a few days. Tama is extremely disheartened and angry, so he can only kick around stuff while trying to figure out a way to revive the spirit amongst the boys. The following morning, Mackey, who has just finished settling into his new home, is cooking up breakfast. He is also preparing to head to his new school as a transfer student. After making lunch for himself and his mother, he hands it over to her and runs down the stairs. It's getting late for school. While taking out trash, he stumbles into Kanako, who is not just his neighbor but also a fellow student at the middle school he will be joining today. Mackey is happy since he will have an easier time integrating into his new school, since he already has someone he knows. They both arrive at the school together and are sitting in class when Tama comes out of nowhere and greets them. Mackey is surprised to see Tama since it's been quite some time he last saw him. Tama doesn't say much as he just hands over an astronomical magazine to Mackey and leaves to make an announcement. In front of the class, he informs everyone of the decision that the student council made to cut off clubs who aren't performing well. Everyone realizes that this must be the reason why the boys' soft tennis club is being disbanded. Tama ignores the whispers and moves on by introducing Mackey to the class. Have everyone treat him kindly since he is an old friend of his. While Mackey is trying his best to settle in, Tama is on his last straws as he struggles to find anyone who is fit to join the soft tennis club. Unfortunately, most of the boys are unathletic, and those who are athletic enough are already part of other sport clubs. Just when Tama thought that his dream is over, he enters the class and notices that everyone is struggling to catch a stray cat that came in out of nowhere. Tama is about to step in but stops after seeing the cat that everyone was struggling to catch jump straight into Mackey's arms, who easily caught it without much difficulty. The fast reflexes and nimble movement makes Tama almost cream his pants as he realizes that he has struck a gold mine. Later, Mackey is returning home alongside Kanako when he stumbles into Tama, who asks him to join the soft tennis club. Mackey declines, which confuses Tama as he doesn't understand why he wouldn't join a sports club even though his reflexes are godly. Mackey doesn't explain himself and leaves, leaving behind Tama curious for an answer. Later at night, Tama tells his big brother, who used to be alumni for the soft tennis club, that he wants to recruit Mackey. Ryoma praises him because Mackey has just moved in and it would be great if he could make some friends. However, Tama tells him that the reason is to make the soft tennis club great once again, and the only way is to win the upcoming tournament. Ryoma suggests Tama to not worry that much and it's not a bad decision to let the club die. But Tama isn't willing because he doesn't want to be seen as a failure, especially not if his own big brother won the nationals while he can't even get to the qualifiers. The following morning, Tama leaves for school while Ryoma is sitting on the dining table scrolling through TikTok. His mother asks him if he will be having dinner with them, to which Ryoma replies that he will be staying at his friend's place tonight, so she doesn't need to make dinner for him. His mother suddenly becomes depressed as she tells him that this means that she will be alone with Tama tonight because his father is on a business trip and he won't be home. Ryama assures her mother that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Tama asks around about Mackey and learns that he grew up without a father, so his mother worked during the day while Mackey did all the chores. Tama can get an idea on how to recruit Mackey so the next time he meets him, he tells him that he will pay for all of his equipment if he decides to join the boys' club. Mackey is interested in the deal as he realizes that Tama must be extremely desperate if he is willing to spend his own money to buy equipment for him. He agrees to his request, but on the condition that he will pay him extra money for spending time at the club since he is already busy enough with his chores at home. Mackey thought that Tama would decline his offer, but Tama is more than happy as he promises Mackey that he will pay him 10,000 yen each month, and if they win the tournament, he will give him an extra 10,000 yen for that as well. Without giving Mackey any chance to say something, Tama pulls out a racket and hands it over to him and leaves. Mackey is baffled, but he accepts wherever fate has brought him to. Not to mention, with 10,000 yen a month, he can lift the burden from his mother's shoulder, who is already suffering enough. Later at home, he is preparing dinner while humming a melody when suddenly someone knocks on the door. He goes outside to open it, when suddenly a creepy man barges in without even asking for permission. The creepy man is Mackey's father, who is here to get some money from Mackey. Mackey asks him to leave and tells him that they don't have any money left. But his dad slaps him on the face and kicks him around as he orders him to hand him the money. But when Mackey refuses to budge, he smiles and walks up to the AC and finds a few crispy 1,000 yen notes and leaves without sparing another glance at the young boy on the floor. Poor Mackey isn't able to do anything, so he can only get up and put a bandage on his face and go back to making dinner for his mom. Later at school, Tama's friend Yuta is getting bullied by a few students for acting zesty around other boys. They kick Yuta onto the ground and are beating him up when suddenly Tama appears behind them and threatens them to stop bullying Yuta. After the bullies leave, Yuta thanks Tama for saving him, but Tama isn't happy as he suggests to Yuta that he should respond to the bullies by slapping them. Yuta replies that he can't do it, so Tama can only smile as he knows that Yuta is too nice for his own good. Later, Tama takes Mackey to their club advisor and have him registered in the school's data. After being registered, the club advisor, Takayuki, offers Mackey some candies, but Mackey refuses by saying that his mom forbade him from taking any sweets from strangers. After the paperwork is finished, Tama takes Mackey to the club room, which is an old storage room on the practice ground. As Tama promised to Mackey that he will handle all of his equipment, he hands over the tennis uniform and shoes over to Mackey, which he gets changed into and is ready for practice. The only thing missing is a cap, so he looks around and finds an old visor cap which is normally worn by girls, but Mackey doesn't care. After getting changed, he heads outside where the rest of the club members make fun of him for wearing a visor cap, but Mackey stands there like a nonchalant Sigma male without any care of the world. Tama asks everyone to introduce themselves to Mackey and also asks Mackey to get alongside with everyone. The first one to introduce himself is Rintaro, who is also the vice president of the club. Mackey also introduces himself to everyone but doesn't say much, which makes some of the boys pissed off at his cheeky personality. Afterwards, they all introduce themselves one by one, starting with Shingo, who immediately tries to undermine Mackey. The next one is Itsuki, who is quite an odd one. After him comes Tsubasa, who is quite rude, but Mackey lets it slide. Unlike him, Nao is more of a laid-back person and pretty chill. The last one remaining is Teo, who is extremely gullible and falls for anyone's trap. After the introduction is over, the boys ask Mackey to prove himself that he is worthy of joining the club by running 20 laps around the school ground. Tama feels that this is a great idea to get some cardio done, so he makes everyone run alongside Mackey. The boys realize that they fell in their own trap, but since the president has told them to run, they can't just say no. Hence, the long 20 laps marathon starts as everyone slowly makes their way to the final lap. At first, everyone is around the same pace, but quickly Mackey leaves everyone behind and is only followed by Tama, who more or less has the same pace as him. The boys continue to run around the school grounds till it eventually falls in the evening, and everyone is exhausted as they fall onto the ground with their last lap completed. Tama and Mackey smile at each other as they hold hands to show their determination to win with each other. The rest of the boys join in as they also want to be a part of the winners club. They all place their palms on top of each other and start a new chapter in their life. Later, Tama and Mackey are about to leave when Mackey notices Yuta staring at Tama's back. He asks him if he wants to join the soft tennis club, Yuta answers that it's the complete opposite, as he has no interest in doing athletic activities. Mackey is interested as he asks Yuta if he likes Tama. Yuta is surprised and tries to deny it, but Mackey assures him that there is nothing wrong with liking someone and that he should be content with himself. Later at home, Mackey's mother Aya brings her friend, Shu, to have dinner with them. Mackey as usual makes the dinner for everyone as Shu praises Mackey for having such great cooking skills. He offers Mackey to partner up with him to open a restaurant after he graduates from high school. Mackey tells him that he has drunk way too much and should cool himself off by drinking some tea. While Mackey heads outside to grab some green tea, Shu talks to Aya about her husband. Aya tells Shu that she placed a restraining order on him. The next morning, Mackey officially introduces Shu to be their new manager, and explains that he will be in charge of taking care of their extra needs like cleaning and bringing supplies. After that is done, Tama takes Mackey to the practice ground and teaches him the basics of the game. He starts by teaching him the way to hold the racket, and after Mackey has learned that, he moves on by teaching him to serve the ball and to hit it back when it's coming towards him. The boys expected Mackey to fail horribly, but surprisingly Mackey is extremely good at learning the basics and even goes one hand further to try some advanced techniques. The boys who are watching Mackey starts to notice their own flaws by watching him, which leads them to improve their own techniques even further. Mackey notices this and asks the boys if they were sleeping throughout the year because it doesn't seem like they have put much effort into improving their game. This hits the boys in the wrong place as they start making excuses as to why they weren't able to perform well in the first place. Mackey calls them out for having no game sense and suggests that they stop making excuses, as losers will always remain losers, no matter how many excuses they make. This pisses off Shingo, who is about to hit him with the racket, but Mackey stands there unfazed and asks him to use his fists instead. Shingo backs down and goes back to practicing to let off all the heat that he accumulated in the previous argument. Tama smiles after seeing all of this and wonders if Mackey did all of this to ignite the spark of competition amongst the boys. The girls who are also practicing on the tennis court notice the boys and are happy to see the spirit of competition amongst them. After practice, Tama and Yuta follow Mackey to his home, where he eventually decides to invite them in and even prepares dinner for them. Kanako also decides to tag along since her house is just one floor below Mackey's and feels like freeloading off the boys today. While they are having dinner, Tama talks about the team matches since soft tennis is often played in teams of 2. While they are teaching Mackey about the basics of the competitive scene, his mother Aya arrives and is happy to see her son bonding with his classmates. Later at school, Tama continues to teach Mackey about the points system and how scoring the points lead to victory. It's all new to Mackey, so he listens attentively, making sure to absorb all the information. After Tama is done explaining the system to Mackey, he leads him to the tennis court as it's their turn to practice today. Tama tells everyone that they will be doing team battles today, and just like he previously mentioned, he will pair with Mackey since they both are the best of them. The other boys aren't happy with his statement, so they decide to test how good Mackey is by playing against him in the practice match. The first pair against Tama and Mackey is Shingo and Teiyu. Their pair is quite an awkward one since Shingo is hyperactive while Teiyu acts like a scaredy cat. After serving the ball, Shingo immediately goes on offense to target Mackey, who is inexperienced in the team battles. He orders Teiyu to target Mackey's feet as Tama throws the ball towards him. However, he underestimates Mackey, who immediately senses his intentions and gets close to the net to throw a volley. Tama is surprised to see Mackey immediately pick up the game sense and praises him for it. Mackey doesn't even know what he did, but he understands it was better than his opposing team. This pisses off Shingo, who becomes aggressive in his playstyle, which turns out to be a mistake as he scores a foul. Mackey is tired of just being defensive, so he asks Tama to hand him the serve next time. Mackey previously learned from Tama that the serve should be hard-hitting as it sets the flow of the game. Mackey follows his guidance and throws a solid shot towards his opponents, who are far too slow to follow it, and loses yet another point. With Shingo's team already being 0-3, they get even more aggressive, which causes them yet another foul. Mackey is now used to playing as a team, so he also gets a bit aggressive and starts exploiting the weakness of the opponent's team. The first round ends up being won by Tama and Mackey, who change sides towards the other end. The next round isn't anything different as Tama and Mackey continue to destroy Shingo and Teiyu, who aren't even able to score a single point. The game ends with Tama and Mackey winning 2-0, which surprises the other boys, who didn't expect Mackey to perform this well. The next in line against them are Tsubasa and Rintaro, who are both equally terrified. However, they have a strategy to exploit Mackey's weaknesses, but just like Shingo and Teiyu, they end up underestimating Mackey's natural talent and lose 0-2 once again. Itsuki, who is watching from the sidelines, is amused and joins in the fun alongside Nao, who is somewhat unsure whether they can win it or not. Tama starts the game with his serve, which is responded by Itsuki with a heavy hit targeted towards the unguarded Mackey. The ball comes extremely fast and Mackey isn't able to defend it, which loses them a single point. Itsuki smiles smugly and continues to target Mackey again and again, which causes Tama to lose another point. At this point, Mackey is feeling extremely tense, so Tama decides to change things a little bit. He sends Mackey to the backlines and takes the front to fight the heavy hits from Itsuki. Mackey also has a plan of his own, which is to keep moving from one side to another, which makes it harder for Itsuki to target him. With his new strategy, Mackey and Tama can dominate the field once again and win yet another match with a 2-0 score. After winning 3 rounds back to back, Mackey's hand is filled with calluses, which causes him to grin in pain. He turns towards the other club members and shit talks to them for being awful at the game. The boys are angry, but this time, Tama doesn't take their side and agrees with Mackey as he reminds them that they just lost to a kid who has never played soft tennis ever before in his life. The group becomes silent as they can't really debate against that point, which causes Tama to become even more furious and disappointed that he throws his racket on the ground and leaves the practice earlier to go home. At home, his mother is disappointed at him for coming home earlier and not trying to win like his brother. Tama is sick of hearing his mother compare him again and again to his brother, so he just leaves her alone and locks himself in his room. Back at the school, Mackey discusses the club's current situation with Yuuta and Rintaro as they try to figure a way for them to improve their team coordination. Mackey has an answer in his mind, which is to change the pairs, as the current pair doesn't look like a team but rather a group of leaders and lackeys. The following day, Tama still hasn't come to practice, so Mackey spends his free time watching the girls' side to learn more about their strategies and techniques. After school, Yuuta approaches Tama, who is sitting all alone, and asks him if he will come back to practice tomorrow. Tama tells Yuuta that he is done with everything as he doesn't see any more hope in the club anymore. Just like he said, Tama doesn't appear at the practice the next day as well, which leaves the group in a stalemate as they aren't able to do anything. While they are sitting around looking at the sky aimlessly, 2 students belonging to another club come to shame the soft tennis club for not being able to secure even a single victory in the last couple of months. They try to bait the group, but after seeing that no one cares, one of them becomes personal and targets Itsuki, whose sister Nume is the vice captain of the girls' team. He talks shit about Itsuki and how his parents divorced because of him. But seeing that Itsuki doesn't care, the student becomes even more personal as he mentions his burn scars. This causes Itsuki to become extremely furious, so he takes the racket in his hand and smashes it at the head of the boy. The boy starts bleeding and falls onto the ground, which causes his friend to run away in fear, as he doesn't want to be the next one on the ground. The boys immediately help the boy and try to stop the bleeding. On the other side, Mackey reminds Itsuki that it's okay to have a single parent since he also lives alone with his mom. Later, Takayuki calls them to the office, where he reminds Itsuki that it's not good to use violence. Fortunately, this time, the other student was at fault, so he won't be facing any punishments. At the club, Mackey learns from the boys that Itsuki has some terrible burn scars on his back, which he got when he was just 1 year old. One day, he was crying in his cradle when his mother, who seemed out of her senses, poured hot boiling water over his back, which gave him the terrible burn scars which still haven't recovered even after all those years. Later at night, Tama is in his room when Ryama hands him the phone and tells him that it's from Mackey. Mackey talks to Tama and tells him that he needs money, so without the club, he won't be able to get that. Hence, he requests that Tama come to the practice tomorrow. The following day, Tama arrives at the practice and apologizes to everyone about his tantrums. Once everyone is done apologizing, Mackey moves on with his suggestion, which is to change the pairs for the better good. Everyone is shocked to hear his suggestion, and after learning the actual pairs they become even more worried since there is no way something like that will work. Mackey assures them that it will definitely work since this is the efforts of not only his own but also Rintaro and Yuuta as well. The boys decide to trust him and split into the pairs recommended by Mackey. The first new pair is Shingo and Tsubasa, who are extremely at odds with each other. If that wasn't enough, Mackey also changed their positions as Tsubasa is now at the front while Shingo is at the back, which is completely different from their usual positions. Everything is sure that it won't work, but Mackey is confident in his reasoning and doesn't say anything to defend himself. The first match starts as Tama and Mackey pair up as usual and starts with a solid serve. Tsubasa, who is at the front, isn't really used to playing at the front, so he stumbles a few times since the reaction speed is entirely different. Shingo isn't much different from him since being at the back is all about supporting the front person, which doesn't suit his style at all. For the first few points, the pair suffers at the hands of the Mackey and Tama duo, but with each passing moment, the pair continues to learn and improvise on their mistakes. After trying and failing a couple of times, the pair is finally able to find a flaw in the opponent's placement and uses that to secure their first point. Everyone is surprised to see this since the last time they weren't even able to secure a single point. From this point on, the pair of two fiery boys continues to dominate their opponents and soon secures their first official victory. This comes as a shock to everyone, as they didn't think that the pair would achieve victory, especially since they were against two of the best players in their entire club. Tama praises the pair and tells them they performed well. After congratulating them for winning, he turns towards Mackey and asks if he held back against them. Mackey answers with a smile, which tells Tama that he is cooking something up. The next pair is made up of Itsuki, who is at the front, and Rintaro, who is at the back. This pair isn't that unusual, but still unusual enough to raise some voices. However, after the last victory, both Itsuki and Rintaro are flared up, as losing now will make them inferior to Shingo and Tsubasa. The match starts as Itsuki, who used to play at the back, tries to get used to playing at the front. Fortunately, his forte is his heavy attacks, which are extremely precise, so he is easily able to find weak spots and target them to score one point after another. Rintaro is also playing extremely well, as he keeps the backline secure, making sure that Mackey doesn't score. After a few rounds, the match ends with the victory of the new pair, who dominate Mackey and Tama with their strategic play and precise shots. The previous two pairs consisted of individuals who are confident in their skills and are able to perform well on their own. However, the last pair, which consists of Nao and Teiyu, is a bit different since they both have timid personalities, which makes them unable to lead a team. Everyone is worried that the winning streak of the new pairs might be coming to an end, and they aren't really wrong, as the match starts with the pair getting absolutely decimated by Mackey and his strong shots. Nao and Teiyu are struggling to find their position, but quickly they come to a realization that instead of playing on separate rows, they should play at the same row, as their skillet and mindset isn't that different from each other. This proves extremely fruitful, as after adapting their new strategy, the pair starts to score one point after another. Soon they take over Tama and Mackey and win the final practice match by a landslide. Tama can't believe that they lost again, but Mackey assures him that this is great for the team, as it will boost their confidence. He explains that a little bit of confidence is enough to make them push themselves even more. The student council learns about the boys' new practice routine, which causes them to review their budget allocation. If the boys continue to perform well, they might need to assign them more budget. Kinuyo tells them that it's not a big problem, as this is how the society works. Those who work hard get more and more, and while those who stay behind continue to get buried under the crowd. The boys continue with their practice routine for a few more days, which gets noticed by the female club advisor, Muru, who asks Takayuki if he did something to push the boys forward. Later at home, Mackey is once again joined in by Tama, Yuuta and Kanako, who help him in preparing dinner while also freeloading off him once again. While they are having dinner, Aya once again happens to walk in on them and is pleased to see that Mackey is still having fun with his friends. Later at school, Takayuki gathers the boys and informs them that he has arranged for them a practice match with Msiki Academy. The boys are worried since Msiki Academy is the champions of the soft tennis sports and are extremely strong contenders for the nationals as well. Mackey, on the other hand, is glad that they are going to face such strong opponents, as this is a great opportunity for them to learn more about their weaknesses and how they can improve their techniques. He also mentions that they are not the same old weaklings anymore, since they have better pairs now. The boys become more optimistic after listening to Mackey and start jumping with excitement. Mackey returns home and finds that his father is waiting for him there. Subconsciously, Mackey starts to back away as his father asks him if he has any more money left. Mackey tells him that he took all of it the last time he visited, so they have nothing left. His father is about to leave, but he notices the racket inside his bag, so he grabs it and tells Mackey that he should know that the things taught in school are never applicable in real life. Saying this, he grabs the racket and smashes it on the ground. Mackey can only stare at the broken racket as his hopes and dreams are all crushed in just within a few seconds. Later at school, everyone is getting ready for practice when Mackey asks Tama if he has a spare racket since his previous one broke. Tama knows that Mackey isn't so clumsy to break a racket, so he asks him what happened. But after realizing that he might not be comfortable talking about it in front of everyone, he takes him to the classroom where Mackey tells him that his father broke the racket when he learned that he had no money to give it to him. Tama is confused because Mackey's father divorced his mother a long time ago, so he shouldn't be in his life anymore. Mackey explains that even though his father divorced his mother, he still comes by often to take money from his mother when she's not home. He also mentions that he beats him up if he tries to hide the money. Tama is extremely furious at his father, but Mackey continues with his story as he explains that his father started beating him when he was just a toddler. His mother used to work full-time while his father was a useless freeloader who had only one job, and that was to watch over him. Even that was too much for him, as instead of watching over him, he tortured him and beat him up just to feel amusement out of it. He also tells Tama that his father will come back today for money once again, and if he isn't able to give him any, he will once again beat him up for it. He also doesn't want to bring his mother into it because she is already suffering too much, and he doesn't want her to suffer more. Tama feels extremely bad for Mackey, so he pulls out the best racket that he has and hands it over to Mackey and tells him that he deserves it more than him. After the practice session, Tama takes Mackey to the ATM, where he hands him some cash and tells him that this should be enough to deal with his father for a while. Later at home, Mackey's father rings the doorbell, but after no one answers it, he opens the door and enters the house without even asking for permission. He calls out Mackey, but after hearing no response, he reminds him that he knows that he is here. He expected Mackey to come out, but instead, it's Tama who comes out of the room with Mackey behind his back. Tama throws the stash of cash at Mackey's father, who picks it up with a hideous smile on his face. He tells Mackey that he has gotten himself a nice friend and is about to leave, but Tama tells him that he should stop torturing Mackey, and if he doesn't, he will unalive him with his own hands. He also mentions that he won't hesitate to do it because not only is he a minor, so he won't be punished, but also getting rid of a pest like him is better for the world. Mackey's father is amused and tells him that rather than waiting for him to unalive him, he might as well unalive him right here now. This causes Mackey to become defensive of Tama as he warns his father that if he touched Tama, he will unalive him even if it means going into prison. Mackey's father never thought that his son would act this fearlessly, which makes him take a step back as he warns Mackey that he will be back once again for more money once he runs out of it. After he leaves, Mackey hugs Tama as he starts to cry on his shoulder. Tama consoles Mackey that everything will be okay, even though he is unsure himself of what will happen next. The following day, Rintaro stops Tama to give him the strategy that he planned. Tama tells him that Mackey already planned one for them, which causes Rintaro to become disappointed in himself. He tells Tama that he finally understands that he was never suited to be the vice president, and the only reason their team was being held back was because he was not good enough. Tama becomes angry and assures Rintaro that he is the best vice president that he could ask for. Rintaro is still feeling down as he mentions that he has never been good, no matter where he is. Tama disagrees with him and reminds him that they have been together since elementary school, and he knows that he is capable of what he is doing. Rintaro still isn't satisfied and mentions that he would have done better if he were truly his parents' child. Tama is confused, so Rintaro explains that he is adopted and that his original mother was extremely young to raise him, so she put him up for adoption. However, he didn't know this till he was in 6th grade, where his parents finally revealed to him that he was adopted because it's the adoption policy of the Japanese government. It was at that time he saw his parents crying for the first time, which is why he feels disappointed to call him their son. Tama understands where his concerns are coming from, but he reassures him that he is extremely capable. He also warns him that he shouldn't mention this to Mackey, as he would be extremely angry. Just then, Mackey comes running towards them and asks what is going on, but Rintaro runs away, saying that he has something to do. Tama, on the other hand, answers that he will tell him some other day. After talking to Tama, Rintaro is flared up once again and does his best in the practice as they have the big match coming up tomorrow against Msiki Academy. The following morning, Takayuki takes everyone to the Msiki Academy. Kanako is also waiting for them as she feels bored enough to watch their game. The boys are excited for the upcoming game, but they also can't help but feel a bit nervous as it's a do or die for them. At the academy, the first pair to play is Nao and Teo, who are also the weakest out of all three of them. Fortunately, the pair in front of them is also the weakest out of the Msiki Academy, so they still have a chance to score a victory. However, Teiyu is still feeling a bit too anxious to relieve his stress. Yuta presents to him the intel that he gathered on the opponent's team. He informs them of their habits and playing style. The opponent's first pair is Kazumi, who is a back player, and Ayumu, who plays at the front. He also explains that Kazumi has an excellent serve and a good aim. Ayumu, on the other hand, is extremely good at covering distance and is a solid defender nonetheless. Mackey assures them that they will be able to win since they both have a solid understanding of each other's play style. Shingo joins in and tells them that everything will be fine, and even performs a victory dance with them to raise their spirits. The match starts as both pairs toss a coin and decide who will serve first. Shijo-Hai wins the toss and opens the game with their serve. Kazumi and Ayumu are extremely talented players, but when faced against an unusual pair like Nao and Teiyu, even they start making their fair share of mistakes. This causes them to lose a few points extremely early on, which surprises everyone, as they didn't think that Shijo-Hai would perform this well. The first round continues on as the pair from Msiki Academy gets into a heated argument with each other because they can't defend against Shijo-Hai's unusual attacks. The argument ends up in losing the first round, leaving only 4 rounds behind them. Kazumi and Ayumu get serious after losing the first round and starts the game with a solid serve. After that, it's just 1 point after another point as Shijo-Hai isn't able to defend against any of their attacks and loses 1-3 without much suspense. Even though they just lost the first match, the boys aren't too upset because they learned a lot of valuable insights from the previous match. They learned that their play style is too rigid and that their stamina isn't good enough for longer games. The next pair to play is Rintaro and Itsuki. The opponent's pair includes Yanagishita, who is a back player with reflexes even faster than Kazumi. The other is Aikta, a front player who can serve and do almost anything that Yanagishita can do. With such a lineup, the pair has very few weaknesses to exploit, so the entire game relies on who has the control of the flow. Msiki Academy's pair starts the match by throwing a nice serve, which is well responded to by the boys from Shijo-Hai. They go on and on for a few more hits before eventually scoring a point against the Shijo-Hai. Soon after the first point, Shijo-Hai loses the momentum and starts losing points faster than a college student losing his hairline. The first round is won by Msiki Academy, which brings them to change the positions. Even though Itsuki and Rintaro just lost the first round, they aren't disappointed because they are now able to match their pace without much problem. The second round starts strong as the Shijo-Hai boys manage to exploit a weakness in the opponent's positioning and win the first point very easily. The next point is also won using the same strategy, which allows them to control the flow of the match. After this, it's just 1 point after another, and the boys easily score the round, securing 1-1 against the Msiki Academy. For the third round, the Msiki Academy's pair comes out strong and destroys the Shijo-Hai using their advanced techniques and fast reflexes. The fourth round ends up in the same way, with Shijo-Hai losing the game by 1-3 rounds. Even though they lost, the Shijo-Hai boys weren't upset as they still managed to take 1 round from the opponent's jaw. The next pair to play is Tsubasa and Shingo, who are up against Masato and Takeru from the Msiki Academy. Yuta doesn't know much about them except that the fact that they played in the championship and that they are extremely strong. Even though there isn't much information, Shingo is still satisfied, as they never meant to rely on the intel in the first place. The match starts with a toss, which is won by Shijo-Hai, who will be serving first. The Msiki Academy pair is extremely haughty as they warn Shingo that this match will be completely one-sided since they aren't rookies like the previous ones. Shingo extends his hand for a handshake as Masato takes his hand only to regret it after realizing the monstrous strength of Shingo's grip. The first round begins with Shingo serving the ball, which he names Galactica Magnum Serve. The funny naming sense distracts his opponent's attention, which causes them to lose a point at the start of the game. Shingo and Tsubasa keeps up with their funny antics, which makes everyone fall to their knees from laughing too hard. However, his opponents aren't too amused because they can't keep their attention on the game due to all of the tomfoolery. Sadly, Shingo and Tsubasa don't give them any chance to hold themselves, so the first round is won by Shijo-Hai by a landslide. Masato and Takeru are tired of their funny tactics, so they decide to not give them any chance to show their talent and instead focus on the offense this time. Their strategy works flawlessly as they easily secure 1 victory after another, winning them the entire game with 3-1 rounds. Just like the previous pairs, Tsubasa and Shingo are happy to win at least 1 round and return proudly. The next pair to play is the final one, which is none other than Mackey and Tama themselves. Yuta informs them of their opponents, who are Arashi, who plays at the back, and Shinjiro, who is a frontliner. Just like Tama and Mackey, their opponents are also the ace pair of the Msiki Academy. With such strong opponents in the front, Mackey and Tama are excited and a bit nervous too. Arashi, who is the captain of Msiki Academy, is a prodigy who has never lost. That's what Mackey has to focus on if they want to win this match. Tama and Mackey greet their opponents, who seem extremely haughty, even more than the girls at Shijo High. Arashi is an egoistic player, which can be seen from his attitude, but Mackey isn't so far away from him as he matches his attitude with his own. The game officially begins with Shijo High serving the ball while Msiki Academy receives it. Arashi is confident that they won't lose at all, so he is pretty laid back. But this soon comes back to bite him in the back when Mackey cleverly uses volley to turn the tide and scores the first point. Arashi becomes serious after losing the first point and goes on full offense. After that, it's just one point after another as the ball is too fast for Mackey and Tama to even react to. If that wasn't even enough, Mackey out of pressure accidentally causes double fault, which loses them yet another point. Just like this, the first round is won by Msiki Academy as they changes side to start the next round. This time, Msiki Academy has the serve, which allows them to control the flow of the match. As an ace player, Arashi's serving technique is extremely fast and versatile that Mackey and Tama aren't able to defend against it at all. This destroys the entire momentum that they built, which causes them to lose yet another round. But by this time, Mackey has learned an extremely key point, which he informs to Tama, who finally realizes the key to winning the game. Mackey explains to Tama that Shinjiro isn't Arashi's usual pair, and that he might just be a substitute player for now. Tama finally understands why their movement looked so weird, as it was Arashi who was mostly playing the game while Shinjiro didn't do much. Mackey tells Tama to target the free space as it will make them stumble into each other, giving them free points. Tama applies Mackey's strategy, and just like he predicted, it works splendidly as Arashi and Shinjiro bump into each other multiple times, causing them to lose a lot of points. Just like that, the third round is won by Shijo High, who are extremely happy that they finally managed to turn the tables. The next round isn't much different as Mackey and Tama continues to exploit the weak teamwork between Arashi and Shinjiro, who starts fighting with each other over who was at fault. It is mostly Arashi being aggressive as he is the star player of Msiki Academy. In the end, Arashi just decides to play on his own and let Shinjiro watch from the sidelines. But this doesn't work since 1 against 2 will never work in a team match. But Arashi doesn't have much choice, so he can only work his way around, but he still loses the 4th round, which brings them to the final game, which consists of 7 points instead of 4. Arashi, who is extremely frustrated from the previous 2 loses, starts to strangle the poor racket in his hands. He looks at Shinjiro with an angry look in his eyes, which causes the poor boy to turn down his head in shame. The final round starts just like usual, but this time, Msiki Academy gets the first point, which puts them in the lead. But this doesn't last for long as Shijo High scores the next point, immediately putting them head to head once again. The round continues as both teams keep on scoring 1 point after another to the point they reach deuce. Now, each team has to lead the score by 2, otherwise the round will keep going on forever. After losing so much, Arashi has learned to play with Shinjiro and they aren't out of sync anymore. However, Arashi is still frustrated at Mackey, who plays like a complete beginner, but his reflexes and game sense is the best Arashi has seen ever since he started playing soft tennis. Back to the final round, both teams continue to tie up the points, which leads to 3 deuces in a row, which makes everyone sit on the edge of chairs as this sort of game is extremely rare to see. After trying 3 times, Arashi finally manages to lead the score as now only 1 point remains to be scored, which causes him to become tense as he looks at Shinjiro and tells him to get ready. The ball keeps on jumping from one side to another till it eventually reaches the middle point and hits the pole. Unfortunately, the ball's momentum pushes it towards Shijo High's side, who are unable to reach it in time, thus giving the final point to Msiki Academy's pair, who finally win after thoroughly exhausting themselves to the point of complete blackout. Even though Mackey and Tama just lost, they aren't too sad as this is the first time they ever had so much fun. Both teams gracefully see each other off as the boys return back to their homes after suffering both mentally and physically throughout the day. But all of this was worth it because it only strengthened their bond, which allows all of them to open up to each other about their deepest scars. Itsuki, who never changed with the boys, now feels comfortable sharing his scars, which shows that they don't have to feel insecure around each other anymore. Realizing how fruitful the previous practice match was, they can't help but want more of it, so they ask Takayuki to arrange another one for them, but he tells them practicing too much is also destructive for their health, and that they should take a nice break by enjoying a BBQ at the riverside with each other. The boys are more than willing to participate in such an activity, so Takayuki takes them all to the riverside in his car, and there they spend the entire day grilling BBQ and enjoying themselves. Arashi, who happened to be passing by, also notices them, so he decides to join in alongside his pet dog, Kamui. Kamui instantly becomes attached to Mackey, who is also happy to see Arashi here. Arashi is curious about Mackey's athletic capabilities and asks him if he used to play any sports before, but Mackey tells him that he has never touched sports before. He explains that the only reason for his strong reflexes is how he was raised as a child who had to take a lot of the burden off his mother's shoulders, so he learned from a young age how to be more productive. While everyone is chatting around, Tama is sitting at the corner by himself, which makes Yuta asks him if he is okay. Tama answers that everything is fine and that he is just not used to hanging out with people who are having fun and not being miserable 24/7. Yuta feels sad for Tama, so he cheers him up and tells him that he is already doing great enough. Takayuki also realizes this, so he asks the boys to gather around and have a few practice matches together, as it never hurts doing some serves on the riverside. The boys are more than happy to participate in the activity. Even Arashi joins them, as he also wants to play against Mackey once again. After the club activity, the boys return home, but Nao's mother isn't happy that Nao is wasting time at the club, which isn't even producing any results. This causes them to have a verbal fight with each other, making Nao's mother complain to the school about it. The school has no choice but to quit the club activities for a week, so during that time, the boys can't do anything but kill time. Fortunately, just then, Takayuki gives them the good news that the tournament bracket for the summer's tournament is here, and that their first match will be against Hatanaka Middle School. Since Mackey is new, he doesn't know much, so the group explains to him about Hatanaka's ace player, Joy, who is 178 meters tall, making him a giant amongst the middle schoolers. Against such a player, the boys need more intel, so they decide to spend a week gathering more information about him. However, since Hatanaka Middle School isn't that easy to infiltrate, the only way they can sneak into Joy is by using a disguise. Later, Yuta gathers everyone and informs them that he has a plan to spy on Joy. He explains that a few girls spy on Joy when he is practicing at his school, and if they disguise themselves as girls, they will be able to not only spy on Joy but also record a few videos of his playstyle. After thinking for a while, they decide on Yuta and Mackey, who are the easiest to disguise as a girl due to their soft features. As for the dresses and makeup, Yuta takes care of that since he has two sisters there to help him with girly clothes and makeup. At Yuta's house, he asks Mackey if he finds everything weird. Mackey answers that he doesn't care since his mom's friend is also a trans woman who is biologically a female, but decided to become a male later on in her life. They both talk about gender identity for a while, which comforts Yuta since he starts to become sure of what he wants to become. After dressing up and putting on their makeup, both Yuta and Mackey look no different than two girls. Kanako helps them sneak in their way to the girls' side, where she distracts the other girls till they are both able to record a few clips of Joy's style and his moves. After taking the recording, they return home, where they get changed back into their regular clothes and decides to keep the conversation that they had a secret from all the other group members. Later, Kanako, who has been watching boys try hard to achieve their dreams, becomes somewhat motivated as well and decides to tell Takayuki about her dream to become a manga artist. Takayuki supports her in her passion and tells her that she should do what she wants to and shouldn't care about others' opinions. Naki also senses her suffering and asks her to come have dinner with them, as eating good food will relieve her stress. Meanwhile, Nao is eating dinner when his mother talks about his club activities once again. She warns him that he should quit the club and focus on his studies, or else she will make him quit forcefully by talking to the club advisor. Nao is tired of fighting with his mother, so he just stays quiet and eats his dinner calmly. In the meantime, Takayuki organizes a practice match between the boys and girls once again. This makes all the boys excited as they want to redeem themselves from what happened last month. Back at Shingo's home, his little sister wants to watch his game, so she urges her parents to allow her to watch the game. Shingo's father allows her, but under the promise that Shingo will make sure that she is under eyes all the time. The following day, the boys and the girls arrive at the school campus for the practice match. They all get ready and dressed in their game outfit. On is extremely happy to see everyone and starts cheering them up to lift their mood. The boys start to stretch their limbs while they leave On besides Teiyu, who promises to take care of her. But later, On leaves Teiyu's side to head to the toilet, but instead of returning back, she starts to explore around the school's building. Soon, the boys notice that On is missing, so they start looking around for her. They all split up and designate a few areas to each other as they search through the whole building. now is in charge of searching the infirmary, so when he arrives there, he finds On sleeping on the bed beside her toys. He realizes that if On isn't found, the match will be cancelled and the boys won't participate in the tournament anymore. Even though he knows that this is wrong, he fears his mother, so he ends up locking the infirmary and leaves with the keys in his pocket. Fortunately, Mackey realizes that something is fishy about Now, so he asks him if he found On in the infirmary, but when he lies about searching through it, Mackey is sure that something is definitely wrong. After searching Now's pocket, he finds the keys and immediately heads upstairs to open the infirmary door. Turns out, On is sleeping peacefully there, so he wakes her up and takes her outside so that the practice matches can be resumed. Outside, he and the rest of the boys apologize to the girls, who are kind enough to understand their problem and accept their apology. The practice match resumes, which goes wonderfully, as the boys are now even more hyped for the tournament. Later at home, Tsubasa is with his brothers, who are in the soccer club, and they tell him that soccer is better than tennis. While they are goofing around with each other, their father enters the room and asks Tsubasa why he isn't willing to quit soft tennis and play soccer instead. Tsubasa tells him to mind his own business and leaves, but his father grabs his arms and slaps him on the face. Tsubasa loses his balance and falls down the stairs. He lands on his wrist. This causes his wrist to fracture, but instead of crying or yelling at his father, he runs away outside, where Shingo spots him and immediately takes him to the hospital with his father. Shingo's father is kind enough and drives them to the hospital, where the doctor tells Tsubasa that he won't be able to play tennis for at least 2 months. This comes as a shock to Tsubasa, who was extremely excited for the tournament. Even Shingo is devastated because Tsubasa was supposed to be his pair, and this puts his own position in risk as well. The pair announces the terrible news to the group, who are a bit sad that it happened, but fortunately, they only needed 3 pairs for the tournament, so it's not a big deal that they lost 1 pair. Teiyu is ready to give up his position in the pair to Shingo, but this only makes him angry as he reminds them that a pair is only a pair if he is with Tsubasa. Later at home, Mackey's mother asks him about his club and tournament, so he explains to her about everything that happened. His mother encourages him by giving him an extra 10,000 yen allowance so he can buy some new gear for himself. However, Mackey's gear is already the finest of the finest, so he doesn't need anything better. But his mother still insists that he buy something nice for himself, so he accepts the money and decides to treat himself with better food for the upcoming few days. Later after school, Mackey and Tama head to the market to buy some ingredients, and as they are returning back, they stumble into Arashi, who is excited to see Mackey here. He begs Mackey to make some of his special noodles for him that he cooked at the Riverside activity, but Mackey tells him that he will make them later on if he is in the mood. While talking about the tournament, they are walking down the road when they stumble into an unusual pair of twins. The twins are last year's national champions, who are also rivals to Arashi, who aims for the championship this year. Meanwhile, Rintaru learns from his parents that his real biological mom wants to meet him, which puts him in a difficult spot as he was already struggling hard enough. Tama also has his fair share of problems as he is having dinner at home when his mother starts yelling at him for never eating at home. Tama is tired of her drama, so he tells her that she should be better at cooking if he wants him and his father to eat at home, who is always eating outside because he doesn't want to listen to her yapping at the dinner table. Later at school, the boys are practicing when the student council president, Kinuyo, decides to visit them and see whether they are performing well or not. Tama assures her that the boys are extremely serious now, and that they won't let her down. Soon, the time for tournament arrives as the first pair from Shijo High is Rintaru and Itsuki against Johoku Middle School. Even though Johoku isn't as strong as the champion schools, it's still pretty strong and might give Rintaru and Itsuki a tough fight. The boys cheer them up, as they both walk up to the net and start their first official match of the tournament. Johoku pair starts by serving the ball, which is not well received by Rintaru, who accidentally hits the net. Itsuki tells him not to worry as there is still the whole game left. Itsuki and Rintaru gets back into their form and starts to show their opponents that they aren't noobs anymore. The first 2 games are easily won by Itsuki and Rintaru, who becomes sure that they will be able to win the game after all. However, after the second game, Rintaru gets a leg cramp which causes him to lose his momentum. This costs them the next 2 rounds, which leaves them with the final game to win to completely win the match. Rintaro's leg cramp proves to be the chokehold for the pair as they aren't able to respond to the opponent and lose their first official match in the tournament. The pair feels disappointed, but everyone cheers them up as they remind them that it's okay to lose, and not to mention that they almost had the victory in hands. The next pair from Shijo High is Nao and Teiyu, who both feel extremely hesitant, especially after watching their previous pair lose the fight. However, Shingo yells at them and reminds them that having such a mindset is worse than losing, so it's better if they fix their poor mindset. Mackey also lifts their spirits by reminding them that they should use their odd style to confuse the opponents and take that opportunity to slide in the points. The boys understand where he is coming from and promises him that they will win. Their opponents this time are from Msiki Academy once again, so the boys aren't too foreign to their play style. Using the previous knowledge of their opponents and the new odd play style that they choose, they are easily able to win the first 2 rounds by completely leading the entire flow of the battle. Unfortunately, their stamina doesn't keep up with their unusual playstyle, which causes them to slow down as they start losing points after point. The game officially ends with Msiki Academy winning by 3-2, which is much better than their original score of 1-3 at the practice match. Now the entire thing depends on Mackey's and Tama's pair, as they have to win no matter what happens. Their opponent this time is the pair from Hatanaka Middle School, whom they have been studying for the past few days. Their ace player Joy is extremely tall and big, which makes him an extremely difficult opponent for Mackey and Tama. With all the club's hopes relying on their shoulders, the group steps into the net as the opponents start the match by throwing a serve. Tama receives the serve extremely well, but no matter how many times he tries, Joy's bigger limbs make it harder for them to score any points. Mackey tries to use the volley technique, but it doesn't work since Joy's arms cover a much larger distance than he can hit. Just like this, the first game ends with Hatanaka's victory. Mackey and Tama come together and discuss about their new strategy. Mackey reminds Tama of how they dealt with Arashi by singling him out from his pair. But this time, Mackey wants to keep their focus towards the back player from Hatanaka's team, since Joy can't reach him without interfering their positions. After discussing the strategies, they start the game by doing exactly what they planned, and surprisingly it works exceptionally well, as Joy isn't able to do anything while his back player keeps on moving around trying to defend the entire court by himself. This allows Mackey and Tama to farm points like crazy as they win the second game with a perfect 4-0 score. The third game isn't much different, as the boys keep on harassing the back player, which causes him to eventually lose stamina that he isn't even able to defend properly anymore, giving the boys yet another perfect victory. The fourth game starts off strongly as the pair manages to score 3 points immediately without giving their opponent a single chance to strike back. The entire game depends on the last point, as it will decide whether the group will move on to the next stage or not. Mackey has the serve this time, so he decides to put all of his efforts into making sure that it's the best of all time. With the power of anime and friendship, Mackey throws the ball into the air as he hits the soft ball, which goes straight through the opponents without even giving them a chance to receive it. The game ends with Shijo High winning 3-1, thus making them move on to the next round. Everyone is still in shock that Shijo High won, which includes even Tama, who hugs Mackey as this meant a lot to him. Mackey also hugs him back as he realizes the weight of their victory. While everyone is celebrating, Nao's phone is ringing inside his bag, which he put it on silent because he didn't want his mother to interfere with his important day today. Back at the tournament, Takayuki calls everyone towards him and informs the victorious pair of their next opponent. Their opponents this time are third years from Uanishi Middle School, who are pretty strong and contenders for top 8 positions. But Mackey and Tama are still confident of their chances because they have worked extremely hard and have gone through so many tough battles. The second bracket match starts with Shijo High serving the ball, which is nicely received by the Uanishi pair. But Mackey counterattacks using a swift volley, winning them the first point of the match. Leading the flow of the match, the boys continue to score points after points, and soon enough they achieve another victory by 3-1 score. While the Shijo High is performing exceptionally well, the Arashi pair is also dominating their opponents as they continue to move up the bracket without much competition. In the third bracket, Mackey and Tama are up against the previous champions, who are extremely confident in their skills. While the pair is getting ready for the match, Rintaru receives a text from his biological mother that she watched his match and is happy to see that he is doing well. She informs him that she would like to meet him later on and leaves. Rintaro looks around and finds one odd-looking woman leaving, so he chases after her, leaving behind his club, who are getting ready for the next match. Meanwhile, Mackey and Tama greet their opponents, who also wish them luck for the match. The twins start the match by serving the ball, which is so quick and fast that Tama isn't even able to follow the ball. The next few serves aren't any different, as even though Mackey and Tama can follow them now, they are still too fast for them to receive them well. Just like this, the twins are able to secure the first game, which leaves only 4 games behind if Tama and Mackey are able to close the gap. The loss reminds Mackey of the conversation that he had with Arashi, who told him that no matter how many months they practice, beating the twins is impossible because they are that good. Mackey and Tama are still not willing to give up, but the twins keep on destroying them one point after another till they are eventually 0-2 against them. Even though they are about to lose, Mackey still doesn't feel upset or anything. He tells Tama that he's having so much fun and wants to continue having fun till the end. That's why he tells him another strategy that might allow them to extend the match by a little bit. Mackey and Tama immediately get into their new positions, but this time, they don't stay stationary and keeps on moving from one place to another, even though this drains more of their stamina, but they don't care since this is the only way to overcome the prodigal twins. Taeyuan now recognize their pattern as it is similar to their own unusual playstyle. The twins are extremely confused and call them dumb for wasting so much stamina, but soon come to regret their statement when the first ball passes right by them, making them lost the first point of the game. Everyone considers it to be a fluke, but only Tama and Mackey know that it wasn't a fluke since this is what they have been planning from the start. Afterwards, the pair continues to score one point after another, making the twins extremely frustrated as they aren't able to judge what's going on with the match. This game was supposed to be their domain, but suddenly, the unusual tactics from the Shijo High has changed the course of the entire battle. Soon, the third game ends with Tama and Mackey winning their first score as the total score is 1-2 now. The entire audience is shocked as they didn't expect the Shijo High to perform even a single score against the previous champions. Even the twins don't understand what happened because this is not the nationals, but just their usual regional preliminary. Soon, the fourth game starts once again, and this time the twins are serious. Unfortunately, their previous loss has caused their entire flow to be ruined, which causes them to lose the fourth game as well, which pushes them to the final game, which has never happened to them before in the preliminary bracket. The final game starts with Tama and Mackey quickly gaining an overhead of 3 points, which makes everyone baffled, including Arashi, who didn't expect that the boys would be able to push the twins this far. After losing their third point, one of the twins slaps his brother, which causes him to wake up from his troubled state. He asks his brother to slap him back, and after he does, they both are now even and ready to face their opponents with full concentration. Tama and Mackey realize that they might be in trouble now, but the game has been so much fun that they don't care about winning and losing anymore. The twins return with their extreme comeback as they shred Tama and Mackey, who are unable to get a single point after their point number 3. Soon, they hit the 7th point, which gives them the final game, allowing them to move to the next bracket. Even though they lost, the boys are still extremely happy and celebrate their victories till now. The twins greet the pair and assure them that this was one of their toughest battles yet. They also promise to play them sometime once again as they leave to get ready for their next round. While the boys are celebrating, Tama calls Ryama, who is supposed to watch his game, but it's his mother who picks up the call and informs him that Ryama must have forgotten it at home. Tama excitedly tells her that he won 2 games, and even though they lost the third one, it was extremely close. However, his mother doesn't care anymore as she tells him that she is getting a divorce from his father. She tells him that she will live with Ryama while he will stay with his father. Just then, Ryama arrives and notices that it's too late. All he can do is approach his brother and try to console him for what has happened. After the tournament, Mackey returns home, where he finds Shu sitting inside, all depressed. Shu hands him an envelope, and after looking inside it, Mackey becomes silent and immediately leaves the house to visit the department store. There he buys a kitchen knife and directly heads to his father's apartment, where he is living all alone. Outside the apartment, he pulls out the knife and prepares to do something that will put him in trouble, but he doesn't care since it's the only thing he can do to solve all of his problems. That's it for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more anime content.